Whereas on the 22nd day of September, in the year of our Lord 1862, a proclamation was issued by the President of the United States, containing among the things following to wit, that on the first day of January, in the year of our Lord 1863, of all the persons held as slaves within any state, with our designated part of the state, the people wherefore shall be in the rebellion against the United States shall be thenceforth and forever free. And the executive government in the United States, including the military and naval authority, therefore, will recognize and maintain the freedom of such persons, and will do not act or acts to oppress such persons, or any of them, in any effort they may make for their actual freedom. That the executive will on the first day of January, aforesaid, by proclamation, designate the states and parts of the states, if any, in which the people therefore respectively shall then be in rebellion against the United States, and the fact that any state or the people therefore shall on that day be in good faith represented in the Congress of the United States by members chosen thereto at election, oversaid by proclamation designated by the states and parts of the states, in which the people therefore respectively shall then be in rebellion against the United States, and the fact that any state or the people thereof shall on that day be in good faith represented in the Congress of the United States by members chosen thereto at elections, wherein a majority of qualified voters of such state shall have participated, shall in absence of strong countervailing testimony be deemed conclusive evidence of the state and the people therefore in the rebellion against the United States. Now therefore I, Abe Lincoln, President of the United States, by virtue of power in me vested as Commander-in-Chief of the Army and Navy of the United States in the time of actual armed rebellion against the authority and government of the United States, and as fit and necessary war measure of suppressing said rebellion, do on the first day of January, in the year of our Lord 1863, and in accordance with my purpose, so do publicly proclaimed for the period of days, from the day first above mentioned, ordered and designated as the United States and parts of the states, wherein the people therefore respectively are this day in rebellion against the United States, and the following with Arkansas, Texas, Louisiana, except for the parishes of St. Bernard, Plaquemines, Jefferson, St. John, St. Charles, St. Assumption, Terrebonne, Lafourche, St. Mary, St. Martin, and Orleans, including the city of New Orleans, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia, except for the 48 countries designated as West Virginia, and also the countries of Berkeley, Ackerman, Nahoupton, Elizabeth City, York, Princess Anne, and Norfolk, including the cities of Norfolk, Portsmouth, in which expected parts, and for the present, left precisely as this proclamation were not issued.
Reconstruction began during the war as Lincoln and his associates pondered questions of how to reintegrate the South states and what to do with the Confederate leaders as free states. Lincoln led the moderates regarding Reconstruction policy and was usually opposed by the radical Republicans under Thaddeus Stevens. In the House of Charles Sumner and Benjamin Wade. Determined to find a course that would reunite the nation and not alienate the South, Lincoln urged that speedy elections under generous terms be held throughout the war in areas behind Union lines. His amnesty proclamation of December 8, 1863, offered pardons to those who had not held a Confederate civil office, had not mistreated Union prisoners, and would sign an oath of allegiance. Critical decisions had to be made as state after state was reconquered. Of special importance were Tennessee, where Lincoln appointed Andrew Johnson as governor, and Louisiana, where Lincoln attempted a plan that would restore statehood when 10% of voters agreed to it. The radicals thought this policy too lenient and passed their own plan, the Wade Davis Bill in 1864, when Lincoln pocket vetoed the bill. The radicals retaliated by refusing to seat representatives elected from Louisiana, Arkansas, and Tennessee. Near the end of the war, Lincoln made an extended visit to Grant's headquarters at City Point, Virginia. This allowed the president to confer in person with Grant and Sherman about ending hostilities. Lincoln also was able to visit Richmond after it was taken by the Union forces and to make public gesture of sitting at Jefferson Davis' own desk, symbolically saying to the nation that the President of the United States held authority over the entire land. He was greeted at the city as a conquering hero by freed slaves whose sentiments were epitomized by one admirer's quote, "I know I am free, for I have seen the face of Father Abraham, and I have felt him." When a general asked Lincoln how the defending Confederates should be treated, Lincoln replied, "Let 'em up easy." Lincoln arrived back at Washington on the evening of April 9th, 1865, the day Lee surrendered at Appomattox Courthouse in Virginia. The war was effectively over.
Alas, the peace was not to last. Even as the Civil War ended, more plots came into play, and eventually Lincoln's life would intersect with a man named John Wilkes Booth. John Wilkes Booth was born in a 4-room log house on May 10th, 1838. The ninth of 10th children. He was named after the English radical politician John Wilkes, a distant relative. On April 12th, 1865, after hearing the news that Robert E. Lee had surrendered at Appomattox Courthouse, Booth told a friend of John Surratt and a boarder at her house that he was done with the stage and the only play that he wanted to present henceforth was Venice Preserved. Richmond did not understand the reference. Venice de Vendure is about assassination plots. With the Union Army's capture of Richmond and Lee's surrender, Booth's plan to kidnap Lincoln was no longer feasible, so he changed his goal to assassination. And by doing so, he changed the course of history. Now, benevolent Lincoln was not in charge of the Reconstruction, and henceforth, nothing would ever be the same. On the night of the assassination, as a famous and popular actor who frequently performed at the theater, Booth had access to all parts of the theater. He even had his mail sent there. By boring a spy hole into the back of the presidential box earlier that day, the assassin could check that his intended victim had made it to the play and observe the box occupants.